As I left my body, I seen myself leaving my body in this beautiful, glowing, fluorescent green mist. It was magnificent. It was like the color of life itself. That's all I could explain it as. But the glowing green mist was magnified to a point where I can't even explain here. I would say if you took a neon light and magnified that 100 times or 1,000 times even, that would be the color. It was so brilliant. And I was part of this mist. And now I'm hovering over my body, looking down upon myself, realizing that is my body now at this time.
I'd like to welcome to the show Bill Tortorella. How you doing, Bill?
Oh, just fine, Alex. How are you?
I'm good, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on the show, my friend. We are going to be talking about your book, The Ninth Level of Enlightenment, The Wisdom of the Light, which is based upon your knowledge that you've gained through your near-death experiences, And it's going to be a heck of a journey. So my first question, my friend, well, what was your life like before you had your near-death experience?
Well, I was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1952. Growing up, I had an awesome life. My mom owned a bar and grill across the street from Ebbets Field where the Brooklyn Dodgers used to play. And she used to take me to games on game day because even when I was very young, I was probably about 5 years old. I remember being at the pennant games and everything. It's amazing how you have these memories, flashbacks. I could see it right now. And it was also amazing that all the Dodgers used to come into the bar. So my mother got to meet all of them, Gil Hodges, Sandy Koufax, all these great Dodgers of the past. And one day, Leo DeRocher, is just a short story. Leo DeRocher brings this young man into my mom's bar. And he says, Olga, with his lunch today, you have to give him a Coca-Cola. No beer for him because he's only 17. And my mother says to him, what's your name, young man? He said, my name's Sandy Koufax. I'm going to be a great ball player one day. Oh, my gosh. The stories that she had, that she related to me later on in life was wonderful. Wow. And then from there, my dad he was president of the Teamsters Union in New York City. He ran Local 804, which was the United Parcel. He started out as a young man, and when he was a kid driving a truck, and all of a sudden, when he's in his 30s or 40s, he becomes president of the union. So it was quite an interesting life growing up in Brooklyn.
Were you spiritual as a young man?
I was. Yes, I was just about to get into that. I was believed to be very spiritual. I mean, see, my dad was away a lot, and my brother Peter and I were very close. He was a lot older than me. He actually was the one that, he took me to all the ball games, my practices for Little League. He took me to the circus when it came into town. He was 30 years old when he passed away. I was 15, and he passed away of this cancer that came on him so quickly. And all of a sudden, after he went into the hospital, they told us 3 days later that he has 3 or 4 months to live.
Wow.
And it was heartbreaking. I mean, it was heartbreaking. You talk about getting close to God then. I remember, oh my gosh, praying and praying. I'm Christian, so I was born and raised, Roman Catholic. I believe nowadays I'm more Christian. Mm-hmm. But never forget the night he passed away. Everybody was broken up in my house, and I couldn't take it. I was devastated because, don't forget, like I said, he was the stand-in for my dad most of the time when my dad was out of town, and we were so close. And the passing was so hard, and the pain he went through was unbearable in those days. They didn't have the kind of medicines they have today and everything. So he went through a horrible, horrible, horrible death. But I remember running out to church that night and standing I couldn't get in the church because the doors were not open. And I stood in front of the Mother Mary statue, and I just got on my knees and prayed. And I mean, I believe I got more close to Christ then than I've ever been in my life. And it's amazing how things happen, because that I was in the School of Art and Design in Manhattan and in New York, and I remember my graduating year, they had this project we had to do. So it was a storyboard project for a film. If you remember the older days, they used to do storyboards for commercials and films and stuff like that. And the project was to, paint 17 panels depicting some kind of story. So, everybody chose their own stories, but I said, what could be better than the greatest story ever told? And I painted the life of Jesus on these 17 different panels, from Jesus's birth and the manger scene all the way up to his crucifixion. And it won the top award at the School for Art and Design, so I was all excited about that. And they displayed it right on 2nd Avenue there in 57th Street. And they had a whole bunch of windows in front of the school, and they just did an alignment of all my paintings. And it was just, a wonderful feeling for me at the time.
That's wonderful.
And my teacher, Mr. Hollingsworth, said, what was your inspiration? I said, well, Jesus is love. And, that was enough for him, he said. How things run together in life. I believe we have angels around us all the time. So I had just graduated, and all of a sudden over the radio, I hear on WNBC radio, there was a station we used to always listen to in New York. They have a new play coming out by Andrew Lloyd Webber, Jesus Christ Superstar, and doing this massive contest. It was quite unbelievable. So the contest was to make up a card for the play, Jesus Christ Superstar, and WNBC's birthday for their television radio station. They were 50 years old. So all these things went through my mind, because I just finished school with all that project I just did there. And then all of a sudden that night, I'm picturing it already. I see Jesus standing 7 feet tall, and the mountain in the background, burning it in the night, with thousands of people coming down from the mountain, really tiny at first, but becoming about 2.5, 3 feet tall on the bottom of the panel, when Jesus was standing 7 feet tall with his arms spread out. And at the bottom, all these people are holding their canes and torches up. And it was just a beautiful picture. So I had it on these hinges, so it would open and close as a card. And inside the card, I did a little saying, but it was the outside, the painting, that got me to win the contest. And I didn't know it was going. I had to drop it off in New York City. I dropped it off at WNBC building. They had like a gigantic ballroom in the building. And the lady told me to put it right in the middle of the room. Now, I got my card finished pretty quickly, about a month and a half after, the competition came out. And it was not going to be until, this was in July or August, and it wasn't going to be till October, I believe, the play opened. I'm not exactly sure or remember the exact date the play opened, but they called me up about 2 months later and said to me that I won this contest. And I was like, oh, so excited. But I had no idea there was 250,000 contestants. And I was lucky enough to win that contest.
Wow.
Showing Jesus, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
So it seems like that you definitely had a strong connection to Jesus and to spirituality before your near-death experience. So what led up to, what happened when you had this near-death experience? When did this happen?
Tucson, Arizona. It's 1994. Now, I've done this show already, Alex. I've done this show for probably 5 years so far. And the show's in February. It's the biggest gem and mineral show in the world. And people that sell jewelry are there also, like I was. I sold sterling silver and watches. And every year in February, that's a cold and flu season. So you picture this. We're at the biggest show in the world. You know how convention centers are when they have shows?
Of course.
The rooms are completely filled.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not only the convention center was filled, all the major hotel rooms and hotel ballrooms in the city, every hotel ballroom was filled with vendors. And people, literally millions and millions and millions of people go to that show. And I still believe it's still going on today. So it's the Tucson Gem Show, if anybody wants to look into it. But there was terrible virus going on during the show or something. No one knew what it was, actually. We didn't know if it was a virus or if it was bacterial. And I remember working the show, and we're doing real well. It's actually one of my best shows of the year. And the third day, you know, people were coughing since I was there. And the third day, the lady across from us in another booth, she just collapses and falls to the ground. And then my old paramedic skills kicked in. So I ran over and I was, you know, trying to make her comfortable. I didn't know what was wrong with her. I just wanted to make sure her airway was good and she was breathing properly until the paramedics came, you know? So the paramedics came and picked her up. So I was fine up until that day. It was the fourth day in the morning when I woke up. My throat, Alex, was so swollen. I could barely breathe. And the pain was excruciating. Now the pain's throughout my whole body. It was terrible. It was like having a really bad flu type of thing. So I go into the show, and my people I have working for me take one look at me and said, Bill, you got to get yourself to a doctor or the hospital or something. So I said, I think you're right, you know. So thank God I had them to work there because they kept the show working and open. And I went to the hospital, and the hospital was so busy. The emergency room, Alex, it was like packed. So evidently a lot of people were coming down with this, and they asked us if we, you know, go to different, you know, medical setups in clinics around town, medical clinics. And I went with a small group to this specific clinic in Tucson there, and they took a look at me and just put me on a gurney and pulled me right in, and they hooked me up with IV solution. So I was low on everything. They said I was dehydrated. My oxygen levels was completely, they were horrible. They said they were bad, so they had to bring my oxygen up. And I was there a long time because they put me on at least, I remember 2 or 3 bags of IV. And during the time they had me on the IV solutions, they was injecting antibiotics into the solution bag, you know, the terminal part there. And they didn't know what it is, like I said. So it might have been bacterial at the time. They couldn't identify it. It was too quick. It came on too quick. And none of the hospital people even knew what kind of virus it was or a bacterial thing. And after several hours, my oxygen levels came up. I could breathe a little better because they had me on the oxygen. So I felt a little better myself. And they gave me an inhaler. And then they gave me a bottle of pills, and they said, well, go back to your hotel where you're staying and just rest up. And that's exactly what I did. I went back to the hotel and I rested. And they told me to start taking the pills about 6 hours because I had antibiotics in me already. About 6 hours later, now it's in the evening. I popped the pill. I could barely breathe, but so I'm laying down. I'm having trouble breathing, but I finally fell off asleep. And Alex, that night turned into a night of light and love. It was magnificent what happened. This is one of the most profound near-death experiences. I know you probably heard a lot in your time, but I remember exactly how I left my body. I left my body through my eyes. And it was magnificent because I left my body. I seen myself leaving my body in this beautiful, glowing, fluorescent green mist. It was magnificent. It was like the color of life itself. That's all I could explain it as. But the glowing green mist was magnified to a point where I can't even explain here. I would say if you took a neon light and magnified that 100 times or 1,000 times even, that would be the color. It was so brilliant. And I was part of this mist. And now I'm hovering over my body, looking down upon myself, realizing that is my body now at this time. Now, I hovered for a while. I remember looking over my body and just looking down upon it. And then all of a sudden, I recognize, my spirit recognized that body has no life in it anymore. And once I remember saying that in my mind, this beam of light comes from behind and comes right under me, and it just turns me. I didn't turn. I don't remember turning. It instantly turns me, and this beautiful gateway opens up in front of me that's magnificent, and I'm just pulled right into it. I had no, I could do nothing. I mean, it had full control over me, and it brought me into this magnificent tunnel. And now I'm moving, Alex. I'm moving faster and faster. And the tunnel's made up of these beautiful, beautiful, magnificent colors. And the faster I move, I'm feeling love and embraced like I've never, ever felt in my life. It was a completely different kind of love. The love kept getting stronger and stronger. I almost felt like I was being cradled, like if you were a child or an infant. I was being protected, I know that, and taken care of on the way home. And I'll never forget my arrival, which I'll call heaven, because that's our home. That's home to me, and mostly everybody, I believe. I said to myself over and over again, I'm in this beautiful illuminated place. There's spirits all around me. I felt in my mind, and I'm going to say in my heart, even though I didn't have a body at this time, but I felt they were family and friends. And I'm saying, I'm home. I'm finally home. Thank God I'm home. I recognized it as home. That's where I came from. That's someday where I'm going back to. And all of a sudden, I hear this whisper in my ear, I'll call it, this whisper saying, Bill, yes, you're home in the light of God. And this is the first time I hear another voice. And now I'm actually communicating. The communication was unbelievable. Everything is telepathy. And it's wonderful because your mind opens up and expands on the other side. There's so much expansion. I think that on Earth, we use maybe 5 or 6% of our capability of our mind. Well, when we're on the other side, because we're light beams of beautiful light, that's what we are. When we're on the other side, I believe we use 100% of our mind and senses. And the being told me, this beautiful, gorgeous angel, my guide, she said, I'm one of your guides. You have 3 guides. My name is Antonia, and I am the one that came in to get you, to bring you home. And I realized at that point that I didn't realize she was with me in the tunnel coming home or anything, but she says, I was with you all the way. And now for the first time here, I'm communicating, and this family and friends, I'm communicating. The communication is all with telepathy. You feel and hear exactly what people are saying to you, and you speak back to them, and it's beautiful. And then she explains to me that, Bill, you have 2 other guardians. And all of a sudden, I hear this voice. Alex, it's my brother Peter's voice. Now, my brother Peter's voice, I recognize. I grew up with that voice. Now he's standing in front of me in this beautiful light. Do you have a question? You were just going to say something?
No, please continue.
Oh, he's standing in front of me in this beautiful light. And he said, Billy. When he said Billy, it was like my whole being melted into his. It was wonderful. I felt tears come down my eyes, even though I didn't have a body no more. And the feeling was magnificent. And he says, Billy, this is time for your life review. I didn't know what a life review was at this time. I was perfectly fine where I was. I was home. I felt like I'm part of this light now. It's magnificent. And we just whisked off to another plane. And this plane was magnificent. And all of a sudden, it felt like they were showing me all the good I've ever done in my lifetime. And they're showing me things, and they're moving me through time. They're taking me from when I was a child, showing me things I've done with my friends. And, we used to all hang out, and, Mom made some good money at the bar. We weren't rich or anything, but we were comfortable. And she'd give me money to bring my friends to the movies. And I would take them to Coney Island. I remember these things because they were showing me these things in the life review. And I'd buy popcorn and sodas for everybody. And it was just wonderful. And sometimes we go to Coney Island, just ride the rides. And it was fantastic upbringing in Brooklyn where I lived. And then it shifts me to a time when I was a paramedic. And the things they're showing me the good things I've done, because over the years that I was a paramedic, I must have done CPR hundreds of times. And some of the years was when I was based in certain stations, there was CPR being done every single day. And we ran 24-hour shifts. And they're showing me these events over and over in sequence. And then I'll never forget this one major event. My partner and I, we picked up our unit downtown, and now we're heading up to North Miami Beach to our station. And we're on I-95 and 79th Street. Well, a call was on 135th Street and I-95. And I got right on the mic and said, call off unit 69F. This is 67F. We're going to respond to the call because we have less than a 2-minute ETA. We actually had less than that at this point. And the next thing you know, a minute later, we're at the scene, and they called off the other unit. So we both see this young boy. He's like running around in circles frantically, and then he just sits on the floor and he starts crying. So we thought he was hurt. So I grabbed the medic bag. We ran out. We're heading towards him, and the young man is saying, "Look, my sister," and he's pointing. And me and my partner both go at the same time. We look over like this, and his sister's head is through the windshield. Oh. I mean, completely through the windshield, Alex. There was massive amounts of blood. When there's a head injury, the blood is massively all over the place. And what happened was the whole windshield in front of it was filled with blood, but the top of her head was out the window. The inside of her head was in the window. So me and my partner said, we assessed this in less than 10 seconds. We said to ourselves, and then we said out loud, that if we wait for the fire engine to come with the cutters, she'll be dead. So we just made a quick assessment, and I took the top of her head and pushed it through into my partner's hands. And, he gently took her and put her down. She was still breathing at this time.
Wow.
And now I have a bunch of gauze pads in my hand, and we got her on the stretcher, just shooting her over to the unit. I'm just trying to hold the top of her head down. But like I said, it was massive, and there was blood all over. It got up in the unit. The brother ran in the back with me. I told him to come in back. So he's looking out the back window, crying. And now she starts to seize. Her whole body starts to seize, Alex. So I'm trying to hold the top of her head down with gauze bandages and pads. And I was trying to wrap a bandage around it, but now her body's jumping up and down. And I have my hand under her neck, cradling her neck so she doesn't crack her neck the way she was moving. And I'm holding the top of her head down with my hand, and I scream out, "God, help me." And I was actually talking to the brother, and I think when you ask for God's help, I know at this point, when you ask for God's help when you need it, you have your angels there to help. And when I said, God help me, and I have my hand down on her head, I physically saw Peter's hand come in with mine and put it on top of her head. And now we're only about 3 minutes from the hospital. So I'm just holding her in place. She's still breathing. Her seizure is slowing down. Her body is getting more limp now again. And now she's totally out cold all this time, even through the seizures. There was no talking to her or anything like that. As soon as we pulled up in front of the emergency, they all knew we were coming. They all was ready, and anesthesiologist, everybody was there. And they took her right into operating room. And we went back to our station and got, cleaned up, and, because we had 24-hour shift coming up here. And it was horrible, Alex. All I could do was think about that all day long, because when it's that massive, and if you have any kind of heart, it's going to affect you. And I thought about it. And the next morning, before we had to go back, because I was up most of the times during the night, we had a call, but I was up a lot of times other than that during the night. And I just got my partner up early, and I said, Danny, we have to go back, and we have to go back to Parkway. And he looked at me like I was crazy. He said, Bill, she's dead, Bill. He said, don't even think about it. And finally I convinced him. I said, listen, I never do this. I never ask, because it was about 6 miles out of our way and about 6 miles back the other way. It was going to take a while. So I said, please, and he agreed with me finally. And we went to Parkway. I'll never forget this. We walk in the emergency room. I know all the nurses there. One of the nurses come over to me. I think her name was Becky. And she said, I said to her, what happened to that young girl that we brought in yesterday? And when she said, do you want to meet her? Like this, she says to me, do you want to meet her? I swear to you, Alex, the hair on when I say it today, the hair on my arm stand up and back of my neck. I could still feel it. That's how strong it was. I said, she's alive? And she said, come on. And she took us up to the floor where she was on. And she was still in the emergency section, the ICU section, but she was up in bed, standing there eating Jell-O. Her whole head was bandaged. It looked like a giant turban on the top of her head. And luckily for her face only had little scratches on it and little abrasions. But she was cut now. Her head was sliced off from the top all the way to the back. She never had a skull fracture. We thought that, because you couldn't see, there was so much blood and the fatty tissue under the layers of skin. There's so much blood that all we could assume is that glass was inside her skull and damaged her brain. And her brother was sleeping, and he jumps up when he heard us. He said, this is the man that saved your life. And everybody was just jumping up and down in the room. I was joyous. She was happy as can be. It was a feeling.
So this is what you're seeing in the life review.
This is
how
what
is
I'm
it
seeing.
feeling? So how does it feel there?
Exactly what happened to me back years ago.
And are you feeling it? Are you feeling both sides?
You feel everything. You're feeling everything, because only in my life review and only in the hall of events are back in our physical bodies. Other than that, we're in our spiritual form. We're completely in our spiritual form. So they proceed after that, show me the good things, but then they switch it over. And now they're showing me the wrong things I've done in life. And, like all kids growing up and everything, everybody gets in a little trouble here and there. All I say to myself is, thank God I never did anything really bad. But I've done things, I've hurt people along the way, I mean, I've not physically hurt people, but, I think the biggest and hardest time, they show me some bad things, some wrong things over and over again. And I don't never forget the part of them showing me I had left my first wife, and I had a 2-year-old son, at the time, being selfish and young and dumb. I admit to that. I was. And it was just a bad thing to do. At the time when I actually did it in real life, I didn't feel it. But I actually, on all these things they were showing me, I started feeling some pain more. And the pain kept on evolving, like growing inside of me. And I'm in my physical body and I'm feeling mental pain and to a point physical pain. And when they showed me her pain and my son's pain, it just got so high of a level of pain that I felt I became their pain. I physically became the pain. It was that bad. And they showed me a few other things after that. And I got to a point where I said, I can't take it. Please, please forgive me. I can't take it. And I remember all this grayness dropping off and we're back in our spirit form again. And Antonia is there and Peter's there at this time. And Antonia said, Bill, look at yourself. And I remember looking at myself. Remember I explained myself in this misty green flowing free form? Now I'm a beam of beautiful light. I look like them. I'm a beam. And it's unbelievable. And the knowledge that I'm feeling pouring into my mind was incredible. I'm collecting all this wisdom. And then my brother Peter announces my third guardian, Oren. He says, Bill, you have your third guardian that's been with you your whole life. And I didn't know what he meant by that. But when Oren spoke to me, I knew what he meant by that. We all go through our lives with this heavy intuition sometimes. And I always describe Oren as Oren's the angel that sat on that shoulder. And he let me know what the right path to go was and what right choices to make versus wrong choices to make in my life. I was very fortunate to have that my whole life. Mm-hmm. And of course, when we're alive, we don't realize we have it, but we have it. Our angels are with us throughout our life. My brother Peter was there whenever I called on God for help, and I needed help badly. Antonia was there to bring me back home and bring me back in. The Oren was with me my whole life, but he was a master angel of wisdom. I believe tens of thousands of years old. I don't know how old, but his spirit was so strong. It was magnificent. And Oren explained to me that we're moving again now. And they take me to this place. And it's all like crystal. It's magnificent. I explain it as I'm sitting in a hall of crystals. It's just beautiful. And I take it, in my book, I wrote down the hall of events. That's how I explain it in the book. You hear it from a lot of people out there that had NDEs as Akasha records. And, that's how I've heard it from other people that had NDEs. Well, whatever it is, Hall of Events or Akasha records, it was amazing because now we're back again. But now it's like a flickering. It's almost like being in a computer screen that's flickering at speeds that are moving so quickly. And they're again now taking me from event to event, but it's not my life. It's the whole world's life. They take me to the past. They take me to the past before I was even born. They take me and show me wars that I weren't even in. And every place they've taken me, I'm feeling it. So I feel like I'm feeling things. But I'll never forget this. So I wasn't in the Korean War or World War II, but I had family that was there. So I think maybe they showed me that because of that. I don't know. But then they're moving forward in time. And I remember them stopping. And this is how it would move. It would move like a screen was flickering, and then stop. And then we were there at the event. We were physically at the event. And what happens, they physically stop, and I'm in a classroom, and I forget what grade it was, but it was in 1963 when JFK, because I remember looking up, and I'm looking at the speaker where the principal used to speak to us over the loudspeaker in the school. But he said that JFK was just shot in Dallas. And it was a real somber moment for everybody because everybody loved JFK at the time. And I remember going home that day, I went home, and my mom and a lady by the name of Christine, she used to work for us, and she used to take care of me growing up because my mom was always working. She was working at the bar because she had a restaurant there too. She used to cook all the time.
Mm-hmm.
She used to love these gigantic pots down from our apartment and just bring them because they took a long time to make, and she didn't have the time in the morning, so she wanted everything to be made by lunchtime. But she worked hard her whole life, and then Christine would watch me, and her and Christine were at the table that day, and they were crying their eyes out. And usually in my house, there was nothing but singing. And he says it sounded like my mother used to sing. She had a chance to sing with the Tommy Dorsey band at one time, back in the day. I don't know, in the 30s or 40s, whenever those big bands were popular. And Christine, the music sounded like Diana Ross's voice, like when she sang "Lady Sings the Blues." I mean, it was incredible in my house. I actually even became a singer in the neighborhood. Around my neighborhood, there was groups.
They're showing you all of this in the Hall of Events.
They're showing me everything in this Hall of Events.
Okay. And
in this neighborhood that I was in, Barbara Streisand lived a couple houses down from me on Ocean Parkway, and my friends Vito and the Salutations sung Unchained Melody back in the day, and the Tokens that sang The Lion Sleeps Tonight. I just wanted to set that scene a little bit. But then now they move us again, and we're moving and moving, and they're showing me things through the Vietnam War. I remember that ending and everything. And I remember being things in the 80s. And now they're taking me, and I'm seeing my death experience. But I'm going past my death experience. And the next time we stop at 9/11. And I won't forget this part, because this part was emotional to me, because I had a lot of friends working in those buildings. And we're sitting now, I believe, at the bottom of the tower, the first tower that went down. And now there's people running, and the people are running frantically, and there's debris falling down all over the place. And I remember saying, I started to run, and I believed that I was running. I was hopefully trying to find out but it's so many people. So I'm running, and Oren sort of grabs my spirit and says, "Bill, you can't do anything. You're not here yet." He said, "Stop for a minute." And I stopped. And I remember him saying, "Do you feel this debris?" And I didn't feel the debris. I seen it, but I didn't feel it. Meanwhile, I said, "Can you see clearly?" He says to me. I said, "I see perfectly." He says, "Yes, because we're looking at this from a different realm." He says, "You can't do anything to help here. This is your future events." And I'll never forget that scene. And it was one scene to another. After that, they brought me to, well, there was a short scene at the 9/11 part, but then they brought me to a scene and stopped again. And now I feel like I'm in Baghdad, because I remember how the people were dressed, and there's bombs going off all over. And I remember running again and again instinctively. I remember starting to move and fast. Again, they grabbed me and told me, "I can't do anything here, and you won't feel this, won't hurt you, And so I believe they were making me comfortable at that time. But they taken me on and on and on. They showed me things all along the way, and every time it was a major event, they would stop. And I remember them taking me to what I believe are these times right now. I believe that our world, as a people, have to come together. I believe there's always been a fight between the light and the darkness. And I already could tell you something. I have in my books, I talk about the fires. I wrote these books. My first book was written in 2000. All right. But I talk about the fires that are happening now in different places of the world. I talk about these times of hate. And this shouldn't be. We have to come together. I talk in my books about the children missing. I believe that we are at a point of change, and it's right now. We're at the time where it can't go on any further. We have to come together. And we just have to recognize what I believe in my heart is people are being used for on all different sides. And we have to come together as one. And this time when we come together, we've already won. The good outweighs the bad. And I could tell you at this point, we've already won and everything is going to be okay. The point is everybody is going to realize soon, within the next 6 months to a year, that we don't have to have these indifferences around the world for everything. And there doesn't have to be battles anymore, because this has taken us to a point where it's drastic. And I believe not only good people are stepping in, I believe God's stepping in to help us at this point. Mm-hmm. So that's the Hall of Event part.
Did you see anything past that, or this is as far as you went?
I saw something past that. And what I saw is they showed me at the beginning of my next cycle. Well, they take me to a place and they take me to a final level, the three of them. I was just getting into that. They show me outcomes, specific outcomes. One outcome is so wonderful. It's so magnificent. It's like we live in a complete utopia because people finally accept the light and become part of the light here on earth. Mm-hmm. And the other outcome is something that's so drastically bad. It's a horrible world. It's a horrible world. So we could either lead into a world that's like Mad Max, where people are fighting over simple things like water and food and actually killing just to survive. Or we could live in a world of peace and a world of love. And we have this because this is the one thing that God gives us to use on earth is we're able to have choice. So it's totally up to us what we want to do with the future. Okay. So these two outcomes were specific. One is really very, very, very bad, and one is extremely wonderful. So we have that choice to make. And this is we're at a beautiful, enlightened place with angels all around us now. And I'm being bombarded with knowledge and experience of world and wisdom and light and numbers and music. I'm one of the angels, after they explain the two outcomes to me, comes right up to me and is explaining a number sequence that was magnificent, Alex. It was magnificent. It was like these crystal numbers floating down, and they would light, and the crystals would reflect each other. Then the reflection was the reflections of the universe, like the nebulas. The colors were magnificent, but the numbers would light. And they were showing me specific numbers. I know this because they would brighten up in front of my eyes. They would show me 1s and 8s and number 9s. And they explained to me now, this angel explains to me the number 9 is the highest number in the universe. And the number 1 represents God. 8 represents eternity. I mean, we have this in our Christian Bible. So 8 and 1, of course, is 9. If you take all other religions, take Buddhism, for example, or Hinduism, the number 108 is really, the zeros really don't exist. It's going to be the core number. That's the important number that everybody's going to be interested in. That's 36. Mm-hmm. So you hear these numbers like 3, 6, 9 from Tesla numbers and everything. But I know and believe that Tesla either near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences, because he experienced those similar numbers. Now, the 1 and the 8 is 18.
Mhm.
The 3, 6, 9. The zeros come in when you compound the numbers. The root number is 36. Now, you have to understand why this is important. If you look at Buddhism, and I was getting into Buddhism and Hinduism, they use the number 108, and like their prayer beads. There's 108 beads on their prayers they recite. In Hinduism, in their temples, they have steeples, and in some form or other that represents 108 steeples. And they have mantras where they recite 108 mantras. You take that 108 number, you divide that by 6. You have your core number of 1 and 8, 1 representing God, 8 representing eternity, 18.
Okay.
So this is spectacular. This is amazing what they're showing me, because now they're showing me how to measure things in distances, how the universal system works. They're showing me physical distances, like the distance between the Earth and the moon, and they're showing me the distance between the Earth and the sun. And when you take those numbers, like the moon, for example, the diameter of the moon is 2,160 miles across, but you measure that and divide it by the distance to the Earth, the number's 108. The radius of the moon also is 108. Now, this 108 is going to appear over and over again. You take now, how did the Hindus and Buddhism know these numbers? Now, you take the number of the Earth and the sun, the 93 point some odd million miles away from that the Earth is away from the sun, and divide it by the 164,000 mile diameter of the sun, and you get the number 108. So if we didn't have these specific numbers, this is in alignment with our whole being. These specific numbers and distances, if they weren't exactly that amount, if God did not put these in alignment perfectly, we wouldn't have our tides, we wouldn't have our change of seasons, and we wouldn't have our Earth. And that part was wonderful, magnificent. And that's where I remember getting acknowledgement by several angels of 9 principles. They taught me 9 principles of enlightenment that could change our complete values and could make us all one and unite in the world. These 9 principles are so important. They brought these into my life and gave me knowledge that was unbelievably wonderful.
Wow. So at what point did you leave? When did you come back to your body?
This is what happened first. First, they showed me the principles. The first principle is one of the 10 Commandments, one we should not take another life of somebody. But there's other reasons why we shouldn't take a life than just taking a life. If you take a life or change a person's life path, you have no idea what you might have done to the future of our world. That person's grandson or granddaughter might have became the scientist that actually made the real cure for cancer.
Right.
So that's how it was explained to me. Everything is so advanced and so much knowledge up there. So one was you must not take another life, but in self-defense, you're allowed to self-defend yourself, because no one's allowed to change your life path either. Right. They explained my life path as being number 3. That was my life path number. This path number would follow me my whole life. And it was part of the Holy Trinity, they told me. As the number 3, I was part of that, to believe in that. And this part was magnificent, because then they showed me my intuition, which was Orin. This was the principle, the second principle of enlightenment. They've been showing me these principles along the way, and I didn't even get it till that point. So they're showing me that my number 2 ninth of the 9 principles of enlightenment is choices. I mean, is intuition and lessons. And I read it in my book, there's about 4 or 5 pages just about the intuition part. It's so important of a principle. And then the 3rd principle was choices. The choice is our development in life, because that's how our spirits grow. Our spirits grow through a segment of choices that we make throughout our life, through lessons that are handed to us every day, and gifts. We get gifts handed to us every day, and these are some further lessons of the gifts and things like that. But number 4 is another one of the principles. It's the principle of service. And I'm skimming through these principles because,
don't give them all away. Let them buy the book. Let them buy the book.
It's so important that people learn about these principles, because it's unbelievable. The principle of service and choice and intuition, they all run in sequence. So everything runs together. And the service is so important. Every time we provide something or do a service for someone else, I believe that I was enlightened and given these principles of enlightenment because of those years that I was in being a paramedic and doing so much good and bringing some people back that was dead, and then and delivering babies. There were some good things that I've seen on the paramedic side too. We didn't always deal with, bad things every day. But the important thing is that they learn these 9 principles of life. And the power of love is another principle. Love has 9 ladders. When you get to the 9th ladder, it's so extremely important. It's the love for Mother Earth itself. Because without the earth, we would cease to exist. Without her rivers and streams that flow, we wouldn't have water to drink. Without her trees, we wouldn't have oxygen to. Now, our trees are burning down for some reason. This is all going to stop soon. All right, we're going to have plenty of trees. We're going to have the oxygen. We're going to have the water. But the Mother Earth is so strong because it's celestial. And the spirit of self. Mother Earth is a spirit of self. She lives, acts, and reacts. So those principles are so important that people understand them as a whole. Okay. The last part, a beautiful little spirit approaches me, glowing beauty. And she's right in front of me. And she says, you have the 9 principles of enlightenment. You must return. And at this time, Alex, I'm part of love. I'm part of God. I feel Jesus. I mean, I'm part of the light itself. It's magnificent. And she says to me, again, you must return. And I remember fighting. I was arguing. I wasn't paying too much attention. And all I could think of, that I'm in this light, I'm part of this love. I don't want to return to that body anymore. I don't have no want or need for it. My being is whole. And she said to me, the final time, Dad, you must return. I am 6 of 6. I did not know what she meant by that, other than them showing me the 66 number during the point when the angel was showing me the number sequence. He explained to me that was my alert system number. She said, I am 6 of 6. Now, my wife was at home with my middle son, Billy, was about to be born in that September of 1994. I had an older son, Joey, that's 45 today. But I didn't have a daughter. And this was a girl's voice. And I'll never forget, at that time, the final time returned, and I'm being whisked and pulled back through a vortex, being pulled back, and it wasn't quite as pleasing as going. And I I'm settled back in my body now, and I can't do nothing, but I take in a breath because I don't know how long my body had no air in it. I have no idea the time length, but I remember going, and I couldn't even move my arms to take my arms up to, brace myself. Nothing moved in my body but my throat. And I took in this gigantic breath to get air back in my lungs. But I'm laying in bed now and nothing is moving. Nothing is moving. And it's amazing because time is going by and I'm finally getting tingles and I'm getting these things coming into my head immediately. I am 6 of 6. I am 6 of 6. And what does that represent? Well, my daughter was born in the year 2000 on the 6th month and the 6th day. And finally, I had tingles in my fingers, in my legs, and my body is start functioning again. And I'm in this painful, hurt body, just racked back in pain and still sick as a dog. I remember reaching over, picking up the phone and having the operator. I said, I had people working for me at the show. I said, I think she called them up. I don't even remember because at that time I passed out and I woke up in the hospital there. Wow. And that was the story.
Wow, my friend.
But that's 6 of 6. Unbelievable.
That's a heck of a story, Bill. I have to tell you. I've heard a bunch of them.
And she's with me today. She's 23.
Amazing. That's amazing.
My life wasn't done yet, I guess.
No, you had to come back. You had to come back. You had to come back and you had to tell the story. And well, Bill, let me ask you. I'm going to ask you a few questions to ask all my guests. Bill.
Absolutely.
What is your definition of living a fulfilled life?
My definition of living a fulfilled life is through hour of service that we could give to each other. Our power is within us to fix everything. We have the choice to do what's right or wrong, but what's right and how our spirits grow in enlightenment is through a series of services that we do throughout our life. So the more good we do, it's like we get this amazing check mark up in heaven, and our spirits grow. You've heard people say old spirits, young spirits, and things like that before, right? Our spirits grow through this process, and we go and live for thousands and thousands of years. Alex, we don't die. We don't die. We just transport into a different realm. So my fulfillment is God is with me all the time. I have my angels are guiding me in the direction where I should be. I speak to people nowadays that's sick. They talk to me through my emails every day. Since I've been on doing these podcasts, I've had well over 1 million views on some of my podcasts. And the fact of the matter is that I believe that I'm doing a service in helping people understand. And once people get the enlightenment part and they learn the principles, they're so easy to follow. It's just a matter of choice. And it's a matter of giving. And yes, we have to give of ourselves to expand our spirits to become great enlightened spirits in life.
Now, if you had a chance to go back in time and talk to little Bill, what advice would you give him?
Everything is done. I did a lot of great things. I wouldn't change any of that. With my friends and everything, there was such a big pack of friends. We had about 30 of us. And we were very close, tight-knit people. But what I would change is I would try to bring that enlightenment into my life earlier than being more selfish.
How do you define God?
God is the light, okay? I define God as this. I wrote something before I came to talk to you today. A question that some people might ask, who is God? I said, God is our light source. We are all part of God's light and love that we become. We be physically in our heavenly realm. We are part of his light. We use parts of our mind that you couldn't imagine here. It's so advanced. I mean, you know, I could speak in terms of vibrations and everything like that, but I'd like to speak where people understand it. Because if we started to talk, Alex, I could explain what God is in a single sentence and make it easy, or I can make it difficult for people to understand. And God is basically love.
Yeah. That's a great answer.
And
great answer.
Simplest way of explaining God. And all he wants us to be is that love. And we have to grow into love here on earth, which is coming. And it's coming very soon.
Okay.
Now, I believe that in my heart. I believe that deep in my heart.
And final question, what is the ultimate purpose of life?
Well, our spirits go through a process of our choices that we make. So when our spirit makes the right choice to do the right thing, our ultimate goal is to enlighten our spirits, because in heaven, I believe we have choices. I believe we might have done this over and over and over again until we get it right. I believe that someday we all have the capability of becoming angels. But I believe you don't get there until you learn how to live on earth as we live in heaven. And that's my belief.
And where can people find out more about you, your amazing book, and the work that you're doing in the world?
Well, people could, I have a website. My website is simple, my name, Bill Tortorella. It's BILLTORTORELLA.com. So it's BillTortorella.com. I'm on Facebook. My book was published by Christian Faith Publishers. They have a website on their website about my book as well. And my email is Bill Tortorella, same spelling, @gmail.com. And Instagram as well as Facebook.
Bill, be careful what you be careful what you wish for. That email might start getting a little bit full again, so prepare yourself.
It gets filled up quite a bit now.
Bill, I appreciate you. And well, Bill, I appreciate you coming on the show and telling us your amazing story. And I hope it does help others listening on their life's journey. So I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you again.
I appreciate you having me, Alex. You have a wonderful day.
Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue your journey, and don't forget to subscribe.